What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome back to MKO Boxing, aka MKO Pugilism, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow me on TikTok, all that good stuff. And let's get into this one. Over the weekend, couple of days ago now, Saturday, we had the rematch between Robson Conceicao and Oshaki Foster, Ice Water, I think his name, or Cole, you know. And it was overall it was a pretty decent fight. This was a rematch, an immediate rematch after their first fight, in which Oshaki Foster kind of controversially lost his title. I mean, in the first fight, I thought Foster done enough to hold on to his belt. I thought he done enough to win, and it should have gone to him. And it's completely ironic here that in this fight was kind of the opposite story. I mean, just to get into it, the first couple of rounds, I want to say the first four rounds were pretty much nip and tuck. So, they kind of, those first four, they might have shared them, but both men were active. Both men were landing on each other at high frequency. So it was kind of a split one going into around the sort of fifth, sixth round. I think both men kind of had a share of those first 4 or 5 rounds, and it was quite even. But I felt that Conceicao kind of began to take over as we got into the mid round, sort of round six onwards, going up to about round nine, 10. I thought for me, those middle rounds, Conceicao was the guy that sort of looked to be landing more with a higher frequency. Oshaki Foster did box well, but in my view, he kind of didn't do enough to sort of separate himself in the fight and make it clear that he was the man winning. I mean, he would counter and stuff, and his jab was working a treat, but the problem was it wasn't enough because when you look at the fight, you see that Conceicao was doing this good thing of going to the body early with a jab, and he was doing this thing of being first on the attack, so attacking first, and then also having the last word in a lot of the exchanges. So for me, with those sort of tactics where you're first, you're hitting first, and you're landing. Some of them Foster was blocking, and Foster was getting him with a few counters, but for me, it was just sort of being outlanded throughout the most of the fight. When especially the sort of mid rounds going into the late rounds. For me, Conceicao was outlanding Oshaki Foster and just having that last word in the exchanges. And, he was doing a bit of showboating, a bit of moving around and stuff. And for me, Foster, he did well, but it just wasn't quite enough. He was just sort of being outlanded quite, and he was too sort of easy to hit. So it's like sometimes you get fighters where they're sort of pure counter punchers, and what they would do is, instead of what Foster did, which is kind of you stay in a pocket and you try and win the fight from up close and personal, middle of the ring. Some guys like Stevenson, they like to sort of move around and stay away from their opponent, and that way when the opponent misses, it's very clear, and then they can sort of just land their counters. But in this case, it was sort of an up close and personal fight, fought mostly in the middle of the ring, in the center ring. And, Foster just wasn't really, as good as his work was sometimes, he was always then taking shots after. So it's like Conceição starts the exchange. Shaki Foster goes after, lands a good jab, a good right hand, or whatever it is. But then after that, you've got Conceição having that last word in the exchanges, which that was a problem. So it was like even when he would do some good work, he'd always get countered, and he'd always have to take a few shots from Conceição, which is, for me, seeing that pattern throughout the fight that's what made me sort of lean towards Conceicao to hold on to the belt. And as we got into championship rounds, that's where I would say Oshaki Foster had most of his success. He took he took at least, I would say maybe two out of the last 3 rounds, somewhere thereabouts. I don't know about the last one because Conceição was being quite clever. He was, he was outlanded at times, but he was doing quite well with he was holding Oshaki Foster, and he was being clever and just sort of making it through the round and sort of spoiling some of what Oshaki Foster was doing. But Foster kind of, I would say those last three championship rounds, Foster probably had the better of them. But I just thought the overall pattern with Conceicao, able to, hit him quite easily. And as I said before, being first, being last, he was his punches were the ones you remember. For me, he done enough. But yeah, it was, I suppose, close enough where even giving it to Conceicao, you give it to him by a couple of rounds, 2, 3 rounds. But I thought he won the fight. It goes to Oshaki Foster, which is good for him, I suppose. He got a bit hard done by in the first one. But this one, I thought he lost. But congratulations to him. He did perform quite well. But I think that sort of performance won't be really putting the rest of the division on notice, because it wasn't really that clean, and he was quite easy to hit in this one. So I don't think it'll really set the division on fire. It'll probably give the other guys a bit more confidence to want to go in there with him now. But anyway, congratulations to him. He done all right, but for me, as I said, it wasn't very impressive on his part. But let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. And until next time, it's MKO Boxing, over and out.